You're listening to Don't Miss This on Paris Underground Radio. Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Don't Miss This on Paris Underground Radio. I'm your host, Jennifer Garrity, with a quick roundup of the best of what's happening in Paris this week.
I want to thank you all for listening every week. There are a lot of new listeners, so I thought I'd quickly reintroduce myself before we dive in. My name is Jennifer Garrity. I'm a filmmaker from New York who moved to Paris nearly 12 years ago. I'm also the creator and founder of the Paris Underground Radio podcast network, which is why you'll hear me mention the network from time to time. In case you're unaware of Paris Underground Radio as a whole, we have new podcasts that come out 6 days a week on a wide range of topics. Some podcasts, like this one, are Paris-focused. Some are France-focused. And still others are based on entertaining in general and the human experience. The homepage of our website, parisundergroundradio.com, is updated every day with the latest episodes of all the latest shows. The easiest way to keep up to date with what's going on is to sign up for our newsletter, which you can do on our website. The newsletter comes out every Sunday and will give you a peek at all the shows with their descriptions that are coming out that week. I'll also quickly mention that I do all the post-production for all the shows on the network, so if you've been thinking about starting your own podcast or need post-production work on your current podcast, please feel free to reach out at hello@parisundergroundradio.com. I really enjoy making Don't Miss This and sharing the most fun and exciting things that happen in Paris every week. If you also enjoy the show, please take a quick moment to rate and review. It might sound ridiculous, but it really does help, and Apple Podcasts ratings and reviews help the most. Okay, enough of that. Let's dive into this week's edition of Don't Miss This, which covers the week of Sunday, March 13th through Saturday, March 19th, 2022. Take a deep breath. As of Monday, March 14th, face masks will no longer be needed indoors, except on public transportation. Vaccine passes are also no longer required, except to access elderly home care centers. And that's perfect timing because Monday, March 14th also marks the grand reopening of the Fragonard Perfume Museum after more than 2 years of closure for renovation and expansion. This charming and picturesque museum invites you to discover all the stages of perfume production, from raw materials all the way through to bottling. You'll even be able to put your own nose to the sniff test and see how well your olfactory glands stack up. If you visited the museum before, you'll remember the collection of antique perfume bottles, burners, and coal pots, but this reopening also sees the addition of new art objects and curiosities, including bottles from the pharaohs to Fabergé, beauty product vases dating from ancient Egypt, jewelry bottles, and more. The guided tour of the Fragonard Perfume Museum is free, but you could also partake in an apprentice perfumer workshop where you can create your own cologne that you can bring home with you, wrapped in an elegant personalized bottle. And one Thursday per month, conferences will be led by professionals from the world of perfume. The Musée du Parfum Fragonard will be open Monday to Saturday in March and 7 days a week beginning in April and is free to visit. For more information, please visit perfume-museum-paris.fragonard.com. And Fragonard is spelled Fragonard. In honor of France's presidency of the EU Council, the Cité de l'Économie will host a new exhibit, Simone Veil, un destin européen, or Simone Veil, a European destiny. In 1944, during World War II, Simone Veil was deported to the Auschwitz-Birkenau camp. 20 years later, she was appointed the first woman Minister of State and was the first woman elected President of the European Parliament. In 1975, she defended the legalization of abortion. Simone passed away in 2017 and rests now in the Pantheon alongside her husband, Antoine Veil. And, beginning Tuesday, March 15th, this great feminist and activist will be honored in the Defras Hall of the Cityco. Simone Veil, un destin européen combines photographic archives from the Paris Match collection and sound clips from interviews and speeches. Most notably, you'll hear the speech she delivered at Auschwitz, herself a survivor of the camp, and her historic speech for the legalization of abortion. Simone Veil, un destin européen, will run from March 15th to October 31st, and more information can be found at citeco.fr. That's citeco.fr. Did you know that the word samurai means to serve in Japanese? Samurai have a duty to abide by a strict code of honor called the Way of the Warrior, which is based on 7 essential virtues: honesty, courage, kindness, respect, sincerity, honor, and loyalty. While traditionally samurai were men, this position was eventually extended to women, the most famous of whom may be Tomo Gozen, a horsewoman who led an army during the Genpei War. Okay, that's a whole lot of samurai trivia, I know. But from Wednesday, March 16th through August 29th, you can learn all about these warriors at the Guimet Museum, the National Museum of Asian Arts, in an exhibit called L'Arc et le Sabre, Imaginaire Guerrier du Japon, or The Bow and the Sword, Imaginary Warriors of Japan. You'll discover how the legend of the samurai grew to become an emblem of Japan, and to show how the perception of these warriors has changed from ancient times to today. With nearly 100 works of art, including prints, objets d'art, films, comic books, and video games, you'll discover how the samurai is viewed, fantasized about, and even parodied. L'Arc et le Sabre, Imaginaire Guerrier du Japon, will run from March 16th through August 29th at the Musée National des Arts Asiatiques Guimet, and more information can be found at guimet.fr. That's GUIMET.fr. If you haven't been to Eugène Delacroix's last apartment and studio in a while, which is detailed so beautifully in our sister podcast Romancing in Paris's episode on the 6th arrondissement, here is the perfect excuse. Beginning March 16th, the Delacroix et la Nature, or Delacroix and Nature exhibit, will examine Delacroix's love of nature and how that love influenced his work. Delacroix is known for his paintings of landscapes and animals, his studies of flowers, the shape of a leaf. His journals and letters are filled with descriptions of the beauty of nature. Now, in Delacroix et la Nature, you're invited to discover rare landscapes painted by Delacroix, as well as the numerous sketches and studies of herbariums and bestiaries, sketches and studies that Delacroix never showed the public during his lifetime. In addition, there will be conferences, including a presentation of the exhibition by the curator, Delacroix and the Beasts, and Delacroix, Georges Sand, and Nature. You'll also find nature workshops, including botanical illustration workshops, vegetable printing workshops, watercolor workshops, as well as lantern visits, guided tours, yoga and meditation in Delacroix's studio, and concerts. Delacroix et la Nature will run from March 16th through June 27th, and more information can be found at musée-delacroix.fr. That's musée-delacroix.fr. And, as a side note, if you're interested in hearing more from Georges Sand, I conducted a channeled interview with her just last week on my second podcast, Storytime in Paris, so feel free to check that out. Let's move on now from nature to science fiction with a new installation at the Musée de l'Homme, or the Museum of Man. As part of the ongoing Limits of Humanity exhibit, comic book writer Enki Bilal, known for his science fiction universes, was asked to let his imagination run wild. What would man look like if he were half machine, half animal? What if he were immortal, mutant, augmented? And Enki answers all these questions in his own way, through his dystopian and science fiction drawings, which immerse us in another world and try to extract the essence of what makes a human human. The Enki Bilal exhibition is included in the entry ticket for the Musée de l'Homme and will run from March 16th to June 13th. More information can be found at museedelhomme.fr. That's museidelhomme.fr. Thursday, March 17th is St. Patrick's Day, and this Garrity plans on celebrating to honor her ancestors. Although there won't be any parades this year, The Irish Cultural Centre has created 10 days of festivities. To learn more about those, check last week's Don't Miss This. But if green is not your color, I direct your attention to Auréa, Sabrina Rattay's exhibition experience at the Gaîté Lyrique, also beginning on Thursday, March 17th. This immersive installation combines video projections, 3D animations, impressions, photography, sculptures, and spatial devices, and invents, quote, carnal landscapes and dream architectures located somewhere between the physical world and the virtual world, end quote. Through a monumental architectural construction, sounds are lost in an echo, and shapes overflow three-dimensional frames. Technologies merge for a poetic hybridization with videos imprinted with poetry and science fiction. And during this journey, a dozen works by Canadian artist Sabrina Rattay will be brought together and staged for the first time. Auréa will be at the Gaîté Lyrique from March 17th through July 10th, and more information, including ticketing, can be found at gaite-lyrique.net. That's GAITE-LYRIQUE.net. If you were to ask me what I miss most about the US, very near the top of my list would be barbecue. And I know I am not alone in that. So, please draw a big red circle around Friday, March 18th, when the first Barbecue Expo comes to the Paris Event Center. Yes, of course you'll find the latest equipment like smokers, plancha, barbecues, accessories, and books. That's all to be expected. But what makes this expo really special is the activities. There will be indoor and outdoor barbecue shows, grilling master classes, tastings, a hot sauce championship, a barber shop, a tattoo parlor, a beer bar, and a wine-growing village. But that's not all. Because what makes a barbecue expo truly exceptional? What's that? Did you say a pétanque competition, axe throwing, and an arm wrestling competition? Excellent, because it's all on offer. The Barbecue Expo will run from March 18th through the 20th, and more information, including ticketing, can be found at fever.com. FEVER.com. Once you've had your fill of barbecue, you can head over to the Garage à Mulot for Au-delà des pixels, or Beyond Pixels, an experience exhibition dedicated to the digital arts. This is your chance to discover the world of digital arts in all its forms. Immersive, interactive, robotic, generative, mixing science, data, and social networks. Au-delà des pixels has been created by the 36 Degrees Association, whose mission is to provide the public with unique artistic experiences by offering cultural discoveries in surprising places and formats. And this experience will take place in the 1,000 square meters of Garage à Mulot, a former Renault workshop. You'll find installations from 15 artists, including Sabrina Rattay, whose expo Auréa we spoke about earlier. To top it off, there will be performances and DJ sets all weekend. Au-delà des pixels will take place from March 18th through March 20th, and more information can be found on Facebook. Are you a book lover who's always looking for the next best book? Or an avid reader who'd love the chance to ask their favorite author a question? Well, then you might like my other podcast, Storytime in Paris, where I interview writers with a French connection, with questions that come from you, the author's fans and followers. Then, the authors treat us to a reading from their books. Listen now to Storytime in Paris on parisundergroundradio.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be right back with Don't Miss This after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to Don't Miss This. 60 years ago, on March 18, 1962, the French government and the Provisional Government of the Algerian Republic signed the Evian Accords, ending more than 7 years of war. These agreements marked the start of Algeria's independence. In honor of this illustrious anniversary, l'Institut du Monde Arabe unveils a new exhibit, Algérie mon amour, artistes de la fraternité algérienne, 1953 to 2021, or Algeria My Love, Artists of the Algerian Brotherhood, 1953 to 2021. I apologize, but I am not going to be reading years in French. That's where I draw the line. For this exhibition, the museum is highlighting 18 different artists and 36 pieces of art, with 3 different generations of artists from Algeria and its diasporas, including the paintings of Louis Nellard, born in 1918, and those of El Maya, a contemporary painter. You'll find paintings, sculptures, photographs, and installations, and each piece reflects the story, the anger, the hopes and dreams of the Algerian people, motivated by a deep love of freedom and art. This is a beautiful way to deepen your understanding of the history of Algeria and the social, economic, and aesthetic contexts that have influenced its art. On March 18th, Algérie Mon Amour, Artiste de la Fraternité Algérienne, and l'Institut du Monde Arabe's second exhibit on Algeria, Son œil dans ma main, Algérie 1961 to 2019, Raymond Depardon, Kamel Daoud, will both be free to the public. Algérie Mon Amour will run from March 18th through July 31st at the Institut du Monde Arabe. More information can be found at imarabe.org. Okay, so we've explored sci-fi with Enki Bilal and Auria. So, how do you feel about going for round 3, this time with more cosplay? Beginning on Saturday, March 19th, the Paris Manga and Sci-Fi Show is back at the Porte de Versailles for its 31st edition. This year's program includes manga, film, and TV stars, cosplay contests, giant karaoke, which I assume is very big karaoke, not karaoke for giants, although it is a manga and sci-fi show, so who really knows? Video games, a car show, trivia quizzes, as well as 200 entertainment stands and shops, conferences, showcases, and dedications by YouTubers and actors alike. Curious about the stars? You'll have the chance to hobnob with Erica Durance, best known as Lois Lane from Smallville, Terrell Rothery, best known as Dr. Janet Fraser on Stargate SG-1, and Dominic Purcell, who played Lincoln Burrows on Prison Break, and Mick Rory, or Heatwave, in Legends of Tomorrow. Is YouTube more your speed? You'll find Corral, Phildrong, and Leaf, author and designer of the webtoon Because I Can't Love You. The Paris Manga and Sci-Fi Show will take place on March 19th and 20th, and more information, including ticketing, can be found at parismanga.fr. And last, I have some very good news. Spring is on its way. The Festival du Printemps, or Spring Festival, at the Printemps Haussmann will take place on the weekend of March 19th and 20th. With DJ sets playing in the background, you can shop, take part in a yoga class, or accompany painter Valentin Guillon in the creation of his giant fresco. You'll find a photo call, sequin and phone jewelry workshops, pétanque, street basketball, claw machines, donuts, cotton candy, and food trucks. As if that weren't enough, singer Eddie DePretta will perform an exclusive showcase on March 19th, and Lewis and the Yakuza will perform on March 20th. And the only way to see these concerts is to win tickets. The Festival du Printemps will take place on March 19th and 20th at the Printemps Haussmann, and more information, including how to win tickets, can be found at festival.printemps.com. That's festival.printemps.com.
Well, that's it for this week's roundup of Don't Miss This. I hope this week treats you well. If you enjoyed this roundup, please tell a friend. If you venture out to any of the events mentioned in this podcast, please let me know and tag Paris Underground Radio on Facebook or Instagram. And if you think you have an event we should know about, please feel free to email me at hello@parisundergroundradio.com with the subject line, Don't Miss This. I'm your host, Jennifer Garrity. You can find me on all socials at Jennyphoria, JennyPhoria. Don't Miss This is produced by me for Paris Underground Radio. For more on Don't Miss This and shows like it, please go to parisundergroundradio.com. Thank you so much for listening, and happy exploring! Don't Miss This is produced by Jennifer Garrity for Paris Underground Radio. For more on this show and shows like it, please go to parisundergroundradio.com.